This week on Take It Outside.
Yeah, I wanted to be a SEAL later on, but it was not my driving force. I just wanted to serve America. I was a free man. I was living as a free man.
You wanted to go to your patriotic duty.
I wanted just to repay my freedom. So if America is at war, I will be fighting war on behalf of America and American people. I believe that most effective way to fight terrorism is to terrorize the terrorists. And I'm a good terrorizer, definitely yes. And I went, I found the tightest, the skimpiest shorts I could find. They would call it banana hammock today.
This podcast was brought to you by Outsider. Check us out at www.outsider.com. Outsider is an outdoor lifestyle brand owned and operated by me, retired Navy SEAL Sam Mackey, and my dear friend and former NFL quarterback Jay Cutler. At Outsider, we encourage everyone to get outside and enjoy all that life has to offer. Head over to outsider.com to check out our unique patent-pending drinkware. Outsider's drinkware can be customized with your personal or business logo. Go to outsider.com, upload your logo, and we will send you visual proofs and great wholesale pricing. And don't forget, get outside and enjoy all that life has to offer. Welcome back to the Take It Outside podcast, where we talk all things outdoors and just getting outside in general where life happens. I'm your host, Sam Mackey. As always, I have my co-host, Smokin' Jay Cutler. Today, we have a guest whose story belongs on the big screen. He was born in communist Poland, thrown in prison for speaking out against communism. He later came to America, where he became a U.S. citizen and a U.S. Navy SEAL. He was one of my second phase instructors in BUDS. He's tough as nails, driven, and deeply committed to this country. His book, Pledge to America, tells one hell of a story, and we're about to get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Drago.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely.
Here. I remember you guys from second phase, and that was really, for me, coming back from Iraq, coming back from combat, it was a very humbling experience to see you guys surviving whatever was thrown against you. We did all kinds of things. We tried to weed out the weak people as instructors. And, some people quit. But those of you guys, like you, who didn't quit, I tell you, that it was very impressive. When I went through Hell Week, when I went through BUDS, for me, it was just like, it was very hard. But of course, when you go through it, the hardship makes you think that it's very fast. You just show up in BUDS and 6 months later you just graduate and it's like, holy shit, I'm done. And I made it. But watching it from the side now, being on the instructor side, it's really a very humbling experience. Like what you guys go through, a lot of respect for the students. I never thought I would have these feelings, but apparently, yes, there was something very.
Did it look more difficult?
Yes.
Did BUDS look more difficult as an instructor than it did as a student?
Yes, because I was thinking, like, that's not possible. These guys will go through it. I mean, they're going to all quit. And it's like, nobody quits. And it's like, holy shit. I mean, this is something that very impressive. That gives you totally different perspective on SEAL training. Not watching it from inside when you go through it, the pain is applied to you. You are on the side applying the pain to other people, and that's something that it is.
Did you ever feel bad about it?
No, I didn't feel bad about it. I feel good about it, but because we don't want weak people in the teams.
Yep.
But those people who made through it, those people who kept charging. It really impressed me, and gives me like different gave me different perspective on the SEAL training, on these guys who go through, and a lot more, and definitely the respect for the guys. Could not make them quit.
Sure.
So those are the guys like Sam.
What evolution, looking back from the instructor standpoint, do you think was the most difficult for the students to go through?
It was a pull comp, definitely pull comp, yes. I remember, people think that most of the people quit in BUDS Well, not quite so. A lot of people do quit, but many more are removed from training due to injuries or to performance not up to the standard. And pull comp, I think, is like the final, the most difficult technically evolution, where you can make even small mistake and you will not pass.
Sure.
You give it has to be so perfect. You give the thumb up with the wrong hand. That's not the instruction says. You failed. And, but we need to dispel some of the myths, because there is I hear all the time, do you guys drown people and then bring them back? It's like a test if he's tough enough. I say, no, that's this is incident. We don't want that to happen. Sometimes, very seldom, it does happen, but this is not something we are looking for. If you pass out underwater, it means you didn't manage your air properly. You didn't apply the techniques and properly. So you just did wrong. And people like this, if you fail it multiple times, we don't want you. I think you have like 2 tries one day and 2 tries another day, I believe.
Yep.
So if you fail, really, you need to go find a job in different place. But we did have people passing out. I remember even that misconception that you have to be so tough that you are ready to pass out before you come out for air. It even percolated through the students' body, because I remember one of my students who passed out at the pool. He came back and said, "Instructor Drago, did I pass?" I said, "How did you pass? You were just sleeping on the deck. You were sleeping on the job, because we couldn't even wake you up. We have to have a medical staff car to get you up from the pool deck." It was very detrimental to entire class. So no, you didn't pass. You go back and do it again. But yeah, the guy was tough. He was hard. He didn't come out, but he passed out. So that's not. That's something that should not happen. If it does happen, you will not pass. We don't look for people who are ready to pass out underwater, just not to come out. We're looking for people who can manage the air properly and apply the techniques the way it should be applied.
And for a little context, pool comp is the last, I would say, big hurdle in BUD/S. I think there's some statistics where if you graduate pool comp, there's a 98% chance that you're going to graduate BUD/S, as you continue to get your training.
Yes.
But pool comp, it's a long series of tests, but the main one itself is you have your twin 80s on, all your dive rig, and you're crawling along the bottom of the pool in a blackout mask. And then one of the instructors just comes and gives you a surf hit, and they just jack you up, hit you in the face, roll you around, tie your hoses in a knot, just mess everything up that you have on from your weight belt down to your fins, and you have to put everything back on in an exact certain order without air, or hopefully you can get an air source as soon as possible. Goes on about 20 minutes, then finally the instructor will give you a whammy knot where he takes your hose and ties them in a knot that you cannot get out, but you have to work the problem the same way. Then when you realize you can't get an air source, if I remember correctly, you ditch your tanks, put your weight belt on top, kiss the deck, and give a thumbs up or something of that nature, and then you FSA to the surface, blowing out bubbles, and the instructors are making sure you're blowing out bubbles by hitting you in the stomach so you don't get arterial gas embolism, and you come to the surface and you have to say, "I feel fine." One of the best parts is after you pass. I passed my second try on the first day. I thought I passed the first one with, I think his name was Baldwin. Right?
Yeah, I remember. Yes.
And he kind of had a higher pitched voice like Kermit the Frog. And so, "How do you think you did?"
Good guy.
I said, "I think I passed." He goes, "Fail." Fuck.
What did you fail on?
It wasn't the whammy knot. Okay. He's like, "You could have undid it." So, it was pretty close. You don't know when it's coming.
You don't know when it's coming.
You just know you've been down there for a long time and it's sucked for a really long time, and it's time.
It progresses too. Sure. You have different type of difficulties induced by instructor. And the different type of emergencies that you have to deal with, and you have to deal with each emergency according to the regulations.
Water's an equalizer.
Oh, it is. And then so afterwards you come up and you have to give the okay signal and say, "I feel fine." The amount of people that say "I feel fine" that are absolutely not fine is 100%. I feel fine.
Yeah, some of them.
No one is fine. But I'd like to take a step back and and talk about where you were born in Poland and the political environment at the time.
So I was born 15 years after Second World War. So I'm an old guy. I'm 65 years old now. So that was the 15 years. So the entire generation of adults and children who went through Second World War, they were still alive.
Yeah.
The adults, it were 3 generations, basically. So the society was still reeling from the violence, from the Holocaust, and the murders that Germans inflicted on the world, on the countries, especially in the East.
Yeah.
So the whole society was also more violent. This is how I grew up. I didn't see anything different with anything wrong with fights, fighting people, with beating people up. My parents, my mom did not want that. But there was like, matter of fact, this is how the life looked like at the time for us kids. We fought all the time. So it was nothing.
It was just normalized.
There was normalized the violence. People tried to get away from it, but it was the Germans
Just ingrained over the last...
ingrained the violence in the societies, in
Sure.
the countries that they occupied. And that's why, like people today, when I tell my story, some people are very upset. How can you live like this, you know? But that was... the transition to more peaceful society is gradual. You cannot just come out of Second World War and become suddenly pacifist. Or I mean, for some people, that transition maybe was easier, but for me it was not. I mean, I didn't know any other life. My mom tried to shield me from the violence, from that violent history, but you know, she can only do so much. Especially my father, he took off when I was 7 years old, because he was devout communist, and he actually eventually made up pretty high in the Polish government and Communist Party. So he was. My mom was Catholic. We are Catholics, so for him it was absolutely unacceptable that we can go to church. There's 2 things. One, he was totally dedicated to Communist Party, but also he was afraid for his job and future, because it was frowned upon in Communist Party to go to church. Faith is very dangerous concept for communists and socialists. By the way, when we talk about it, we tend to call all the countries behind Iron Curtain. Curtain.
You nailed it.
Yes.
You got it.
All these countries, we tend to call them communist countries. Well, but in reality, none of these countries were ever communist country. Not even Soviet Union. They were all socialist states run by communists and communist parties. I'm saying this because it is nowadays, you can see this enamoration with socialism, and people try to convince other people that communism is bad, we know that, but socialism is great. Look at the, socialism, and they claim, this is a kind of explanation of socialism for dumb people. They say, they like to say socialism is only about building the roads by government, the schools, paving the roads, building hospitals by
healthcare.
Government. Well, if this is your definition of socialism, then Morocco, even Taliban, has got to be socialist country too, because they pay for that as well. So this is not true. The socialism is a very dangerous concept, and is very easily abused as is excellent tool to subdue societies and enslave people, and that's why people need to be more careful before they prize the socialism, especially they never experienced the socialism.
Do you think your father was a devout communism, or do you think he took the path of least resistance and was hoping for the best instead of going against the grain?
I think initially he took the path of least resistance. He's seen that he can he can make career, but then he dedicated himself to this path. And it's a very brutal path. This is not something that you can say, well, I'll be just a little bit here, a little bit there. You either dedicate yourself and you make inroads in the government, the Polish government at the time, or you will be ejected. You'll be just removed and you become just one of the guys on the street. So he eventually he started believing into it. And I know that because when I was, I think, 16 years old, my mother could not afford to feed us, me and my two siblings. So they sent me to live with my father. And I had a chance to probe his views, his ideals, what he's thinking about. And it was very simple. Like, well, if you met him, you would think that this is a great guy. He speaks well, his manners are great, the guy is well educated, and somebody like you would like to have as a neighbor. Well, until you start talking to him. So then you realize that this older gentleman actually wouldn't mind to go and kill people who don't agree with him or the socialist agenda.
The extremist.
His ideas were that socialism is such a great country, such a great system. Socialism is such a great system that everybody should benefit from it. And people who are resisting it, they are preventing the majority, the people in the country, to embrace that great system that makes everybody equal and makes the economy great. And this is something that didn't work out too good. We know about it, but he believed that. So he thought his ideas were that if you do not support socialism, you have no place in the government. You should have no voice. But if you resist socialism, conversion, and Communist Party, then you need to be cancelled.
Sure.
So they were the cancellation. What they meant is, if you were an artist, your art was not being shown up anywhere. Were removed from places where it was displayed. If you were an author, your books were removed from the libraries. You were not allowed to publish anything. All the publishers, they refused to publish your books. Sure. If you were an actor, you lost your job. You couldn't get the job. You couldn't perform in the theaters or in the movies. And that type of cancellation was very effective at the time in Poland. Now, I didn't know at the time, but I know now, it was pointed out to me when I was in Poland that my father actually was responsible for the censorship.
Really?
He was a director of department for libraries, books, and movies in Warsaw, in Ministry of Art and Culture. So his responsibility was also making sure that anything that is being published or showed to publicly adheres to socialist ideals, socialist values.
So he had a pretty important job for the government then.
He had a very important job for the government, yes. And he was very well respected by communist government. But again, not by the most of the people in Poland, because people knew how... they lived through one type of socialism already. They lived through Adolf Hitler socialism. Adolf Hitler was socialist, and they had enough of it. So they were not keen on another form of socialism. Whether it is Adolf Hitler socialism, whether it is Leonid Brezhnev socialism, Joseph Stalin socialism, or I would say Bernie Sanders socialism, they all have the same things in common. It's a censorship, cancellations, attack on nation's moral values, attack on family, and most important, attack on faith. Faith is the most dangerous thing to socialist ideology, to the socialist system and communist ideology. So, and it is because they need people who are morally flexible. And so here in America, that thing is not very well known. The term relative morality. Relative morality is something that basically you have no anchor, no base. You will follow the leader, whoever it is, whether it is Adolf Hitler or Joseph Stalin, and you subscribe to their ideas, to their values. And as their values change, you are expected also to change their values and follow with them.
Sure.
It is very dangerous because we know how it ended up in Adolf Hitler's Germany when eventually the Holocaust became acceptable in the government circles. The euthanasia of handicapped children and handicapped people or mentally ill people were accepted and they were carrying out. It was all for the benefit, for good of the society and the country. This is how it was being explained. And the same thing in Poland where I grew up. Everything that communist government did was always explained to us that this is for the good of the society, this is for the good of Polish nation and Polish country. So when they were killing and executing people opposing socialism, this is how they brand them. They brand them as a terrorists, as they were never protesters in Poland.
Really?
They were only the protesters. They were, but they were always branded terrorists and people, evil people trying to
They were
derail.
They were a threat to the state.
The threat to the state, yes. And, well, they wouldn't say describe as a threat to the state. They would describe as a threat to other people.
People, yeah.
So that was pretty grim time and very dark time in Poland.
Were your siblings older or younger?
Younger. I have a younger sister, a younger brother.
Okay.
And also I just want to make sure that people understand today Poland has nothing to do with socialism or communism. In Poland, ideology, actually Polish constitution forbids to promote totalitarian ideologies like fascism, Nazism, communism. So you can't go up there and promote this. People learn their lesson.
That's good.
Today Poland is Polish law is based on justice.
Yeah.
People live different lives. Poland today is, I would say, is a great society. Polish people have created a new great society where people are not afraid to speak up.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, your mom was on the opposite end of the spectrum as your father, right? She was a school teacher?
She was a school teacher. She was a Catholic. And this is where my moral values came from. I subscribe to my mom's family. Not only my mom's family, to my mom's moral values and also my grandparents on both sides. Because even my grandmother on my father's side, she was not approving what my father was doing. I remember when I was maybe 4 years old, maybe 3 years old, when my grandmother was teaching me how to pray. It was like, they were villagers, right? They were just farmers. So you have to always get on your knees in front of the bed, put your hands together, and then you have to pray. And then when you finish your prayer, you ask God for help but her first thing always was, and now let's pray so God will take these red bastards, this red communist evil devil away from Poland and send them back to Soviet Union where they came from. And yeah, I was repeating it. I didn't know any politics. I just like communist evil. Yeah, absolutely. I even remember asking her, so grandma, the communists are like evil. They have tails. They have horns. She said, well, you can't see them, but they are worse than that. They kill other people. They imprison people for their views. So she was a simple woman, but she understands that oppression, that of communist regime. So yeah, that's how I grew up. So my values came from my mom's side and my grandparents' side. My father, I would say, had no real influence on me at all, even after I spent a year and a half with him.
Now, reading your book, if I remember correctly, your mom would have to go, very early in the morning and wait in line to get her rations of bread or something of that nature, right?
That was normal. That was the reality of socialist system. And whenever socialism gets in, That's what happened, actually. The economy tanks. I mean, look what happened in Venezuela, Cuba, and the country behind the Iron Curtain in Eastern Bloc. There was always not enough bread, not enough food, besides other economical problems. So that was normal. That was expected. And I didn't know any better. If my mom didn't get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and stay maybe 2 hours for bread, or if she got up later, so when she made to the end of the line, there may be no bread. So we didn't have a bread. We just went hungry to school. But it was not a big deal because we didn't know any better. So well, today we don't have anything to eat. So we just come eat whenever mom buy more bread. So.
What about kids from the Communist Party where their parents were in the party?
Oh, you can tell the difference. Matter of fact, this is how I start helping myself to their sandwiches. Because you can tell them, you can tell them by their sandwiches, the clothes they wear, because Communist Party members, they had access to different stores. They have access to like commissaries where they can buy the food that was not available to most of the people. And actually I experienced both sides because until I was 7 years old, my father lived with us and I had all the protection of Communist Party and everything that, all the perks that Communist Party members had. When he left when I was 7 years old, he took off because of his career. He was afraid even to hang out with us. So that's when I realized the difference.
Yeah.
It was huge difference. But so when I remember sometimes I was hungry and I was watching some of the kids coming with the nice sandwiches. Sandwiches so good that even today you would look at it and say, like, this is good sandwich. I want to eat that one. And so for me, sandwich most of the time was sandwich with, if we were lucky, we had the butter. If we not, we had the margarine, sprinkled with sugar, or sometimes with salt if we didn't have a sugar. And that was it, just go and eat it. The only thing is that in Poland, nobody wanted to show that they don't have enough or they are poor. We didn't know what the poor is, but we said, like, I want to be like these other kids. So when I ate my sandwich, I always hide myself. It's just I don't want other people to see that I have a sandwich with nothing. Sometimes we'll just put a little bit of water on it and put a little bit of salt or sugar. And that was until I started like looking at these kids. And I said, you know what? I can take that sandwich from him. and at that time, there was such a distinct division in Poland, the party members and non-party members. You could look at the guy, you can tell most of the time, he's a party member. You can look at the kid and say, okay, his parents are, one of the parents at least is a party member. So when I find that out, and I look at the kids and I pick one of them and say, like, walk up to him, just took his sandwich out of his hand, just turned in half. So I give him to half, I ate half. It was so good. So I say, okay, so now you're gonna bring 2 sandwiches. Tomorrow you bring one for me, one for yourself. If you bring just one, then you won't eat. No big deal. Sometimes I was hungry with that sandwich. You can survive it too. He brought 2 sandwiches. He gave me one.
Same kid?
Yeah, the same kid. Yeah.
Normally the same kid?
Yeah, it was the same kid. I just like target this guy and I was getting my sandwich. But then I remember I was walking from school, and as a kid, I was already 8 years old. So as 8 years old, I had to take a bus and go across the town, switch the buses, and just to get home. And the bus I was supposed to take took off. I was a little bit late. And there was another guy that we bully a lot. Mostly I. And and he was like smaller guy, sometimes not quite clean. And so I'm walking behind him. I said, well, the bus ran away, so I need to go. And this kid is walking. He looks over his shoulder, and I'm sure he already thinking, I'll just go beat the hell out of him again. And so like I look at him, I say, like, where do you live? He said, I'm living like maybe 200 yards or something in the building. Okay, so we just walk and start talking to him, and turned out to be like a very nice kid. So then I said, well, let me see how you live. That's okay. I'll just come with you. Yeah, come in. And I walk into this room. It was on the first floor, and I still can't shake off that shock that I went through. There's something I started realizing that, people are poor, but most of them, but they are even poor people, like twice as poor, more poor people. So when I walked into this room, you can see there was one table, one chair, one bed. And I don't remember if it had a mattress or just had like something like blankets lay on those springs. At least had the springs. So, and the table, it was dark. It was like one window, the room, the paint was falling off. The table, there's a big like can, not empty, but full of cigarette butts. His mom was smoking. And sink. The sink is like you can see janitorial closet today. They're like very tall,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, where is the other chair? Where do you live here? Where do you sleep? I have one bed. You have like another bed or something folding? Say, no, I sleep with mom. We don't have money to buy another bed. Mm-hmm. Okay, where do you eat? There's one chair. Why eat on mom's lap? Mm-hmm. It's like, that's... Okay, and do you have any food? He say, no, we eat the food every day. My mom will eat breakfast, so my mom comes back, she brings some food. I say, okay. So I was just thinking that for a while, and then I felt really sorry for him. So I hooked him up with another party member kid and told him, you're going to bring in the sandwiches for this guy. If you don't, you won't eat.
Got a record now.
And then I kind of like start protecting him too, because then I was picking on him a lot, but other kids too. So then after that visit in his place, I say, nobody's going to touch this guy. And I was not afraid of anybody at school, especially my mom was still a teacher there. Mm-hmm. So, like I thought.
Were you a bigger kid?
I was not really bigger. I just like to fight a lot. And I remember I was, and I don't know where it came from kindergarten. I used to, bully. I used to like to fight. I thought it was fun in kindergarten. So when I came up there, and especially having mom in the school as a teacher, I say, I'm untouchable now. At least that's what I thought. So I told him that you guys need to leave this kid alone. And the other guy was bringing sandwiches. But I think him or somebody else complained that there is a guy in the class who extorts sandwiches. And I remember that when parents show up at school, you know that something bad is going to happen. And I got to feel this the parents of this kid, because I seen the kid going away from them. So I drag him in the bathroom. I kind of beat him up a little bit and say, look, if you recognize me, if you tell that it's me or anybody in the class taking your sandwiches, you will never leave this bathroom. And so I kind of explained him offhand too that he cannot talk. So his parents came into the class, and sure, that was his parents, and they're like, okay, so who is stealing your sandwiches? He's like, look here, I don't see anybody here. So the parents, you told me those in your class. I want you to go to each bench and go and look at the kid and tell me if this is the kid. So as they are walking by with him, he looks at me, he's like, no, no. So the parents didn't give him 2 sandwiches anymore. They gave him just one. But they never knew that he only ate half of it, because the other half went to the other kid. So kind of like a Robin Hood stealing the food from other kids. But it was really, would I do it today? No. Would I allow my kids to do it? No. Would my mom allow me to do it? No. If she would find out, most likely I would have to run with the recycling papers, get to earn the money, and then pay for the sandwiches and get spanked and beat up by my mom. So she never found out that I did that.
So did the Communist Party pick what school you went to and where you lived, or just where you lived?
Well, kind of both. They have an influence on what the school you could go to, but also where you live. That was the rules in Poland at the time were that where you live, you stay there unless you have a permit from the government to move, especially from city to city. From one street to another street, you have to have a permit, you have to have a place to be able to register yourself there, and then you could move. To move from city to city, you could not do it. That was only with you. Basically, like when my mom tried to move from one city to another, to city lots, in the center of Poland. She had to have a place. She has to have a job there, and she has to be registered that she lives there. Well, you cannot register yourself. You cannot get the job until you register yourself. But now, if you don't have a job, you cannot register yourself. But you cannot get a job when you are not registered. It's like a catch, 21. There's nothing she could do. The only way to move, and we eventually moved, was to swap the apartments
with another family.
With
right?
another family. Yeah. So we were very lucky eventually in that small town, because we got the apartment with 2 rooms. I mean, 2 rooms means like a 1 bedroom. Before we were living in the, so when she got those 2 rooms, we're like, wow, this is such a big place to live. Mm-hmm. At that time in Poland, sometimes 3 generations live in the same studio. Wow. They were divided by partitions. Mm-hmm. And so when she found somebody willing to move to the town, Zielona Góra, where I was living at the time, that was, she was very excited. The problem was that there was a young couple, they just got married, and they lived in the small studio. So they need something bigger. So when my mom, she was desperate to move to Lodz, where our entire family was. So she had to swap basically these 2 rooms on one studio, where me, my younger brother, younger sister, and her had to leave. So imagine that 4 people in a little tiny studio. That was still not that bad yet. But eventually, yeah, this is how she managed to move. The government control where you can live. As far as to schools, initially you had to go to school. That was like that they. You just had to be the school in your district, wherever you were. But talking about higher education, or even going to the middle school, certain middle schools were very exclusive in Poland, and it was very hard to get there unless you were recommended by party member, or you had to be like perfect score, maybe. So it was not that easy to get to the center schools, and I experienced that too, because eventually when I graduated from elementary school, they sent me to, my mom couldn't afford to feed all 3 of us, so they sent me to my father. So this is where I kind of learned about his views and ideals, but also, my grades were so bad that I didn't think I would even go to any school. But, it just took one phone and visit of my father in like very prestigious electronic school. There was a high school with, on the top of it, the electronic education put to the side, on the side of it too as well. So it was almost impossible to get there. Just one phone from him, one visit. Here I was greeted like a great hero in that school, So there was. It tells you how the communist system operates. You are in or you are out. If you are in, you can almost do anything you want. You have access to almost all the goods. But if you are out, if you are not on the inside of the communist circles, it's very hard to accomplish anything. So yeah, and so the schools were controlled by the government too.
And so I know you lived with your father. Did you go back to living with your mother?
Yeah, I didn't last with me. Yeah, I didn't last that long. I was
for a summer, right, or something.
Yeah, what happened is I finished my elementary school there, and then my father, through his connection, set me up with this very prestigious high school in Warsaw. But, like, I like to fight. So I used to fight on the streets. I used to fight already with my wife's son, my father's son, my father's wife's son. What do you call it here?
Brother-in-law?
Not brother-in-law. He was my stepbrother.
Stepbrother. Okay.
My stepbrother. Yeah. He was a little shithead, and we always he tried to outdo me on everything. So I just didn't like the guy. So every time I had the chance, I was talking to him offhand, and they lost it eventually.
I remember this story, but so you must have told it in second phase, or maybe at one of the SEAL reunions. You told me, but you started doing jiu-jitsu or taekwondo or something of that nature.
Yeah.
Then you and all your friends would fight each other, and that got boring. So then you would go fight.
Well, yeah, there was not so much for being bored. There was more as a training. This is the way we thought. Today, you have a video cameras. You can just put them anywhere you want. You can carry with you. You can put it in your helmet, on your chest, and you can video everything, right? But at that time, there was no cameras. Sometimes I seen somebody with a little tiny camera with like a little crank on it, just like you can video. I didn't have it. I didn't even know anybody who had such camera. So for us, the cameras were eyes of our other guys.
The peers watching.
Peers, yes.
Yeah.
So I started with boxing, just regular box, and I really liked it. Then the karate Kyokushin came to my city, so I started that. Actually, I had to because there was an age restriction. I had to be older to participate in it. So I took my school ID. I kind of like
Faked your ID?
I fixed it. I faked my ID, and I started doing this. So I was doing good in karate Kyokushinkai. But when we moved to Lodz, I met the guys from Taekwondo. Taekwondo then was different than what is Taekwondo today in Warsaw or in Poland. At that time, it was like a real fight.
Sure.
And especially when the teacher, he was from Laos, he was encouraging us to fight on the street. His idea was that, look, you can fight on the ring, but that's one thing. But you are safe there. But you need to challenge yourself.
You want a real-world
experience. A real-world
experience.
experience to be a good fighter. Oh, he didn't have to tell us twice that. So there were a bunch of guys. So we decided to go and improve our techniques, improve our fighting skills. And so like 4 or 5 sometimes of us say, okay, let's go that guy right there. See somebody drinking a beer, look tough, So like, okay. So what I'm going, and this is how we did it. We planned. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to kick this guy in the guts. I'm going to go uppercut, left hook, and a roundhouse kick to the head. Then I'm going to sweep him and step on him. So, and then there was so now okay, Drago, go ahead and do it. We'll be watching you. So, I did my plan, and there was a critique later. Okay, well, your kick was a little bit too weak or was too slow. You missed the guy here. This is how we, and then we actually practiced. Okay, so this is what you did. So the guy was reenacting what I was doing. And then I was like, okay, so let me try it one more time. So then I was doing it, but try to get it right. And then we're looking for another guy to practice on. But I tell you, we became so good that beating one single guy was really no challenge. So we're looking for like maybe 2 or 3 guys. Where to find them the best? In the bar.
How old were you?
I was at that time 17, 18 years old.
Okay.
So we need, we're looking for people, but sometimes it was fascinating, like it was sometimes hard to find 2 or 3 people to beat up. So we did, so we had to draw we're like, okay, I got it. And sometimes we both, like 2 or 3 of us, called at the same time. If we seen like 2 or 3 guys, then we had to draw the straws who's going to beat them up. And that was,
Did it ever backfire?
Well, we got the black eyes, broken noses sometimes, but no, because at the time in Poland, it wasn't really. People frowned upon it, but didn't bother themselves with it. If you go through Lodz at the time to the city, you would see 2, maybe 3 fights on your journey from one side, one end of the city to another end.
So it was just normal.
That was just normal. People learn, like if the people are fighting or doing something to each other, they just go across the street, walk around, and nobody bothers. You call police, they say, they're killing each other?
Yeah.
No, they fight. Don't worry about it.
Whatever.
So, they try to keep peaceful, but it was very hard at that society then. This is how I start fighting. And I really like this because it was, let me tell you this. Today, I would not do it. I would not allow my kids to do it. This is not I'm a better man, I'm American. America changed me. I'm good person. I consider myself to be a good person. But at the time, that was just the way of practicing.
It's the culture you were brought up in. It was the environment.
That was the environment.
Didn't have a choice, really.
I grew up.
What's up, guys? Sam Mackey here. I want to tell you about today's sponsor, Spartan Forge. Spartan Forge has no doubt made me a more effective and efficient hunter. Spartan Forge was founded by former U.S. Special Operations Intelligence Officer Bill Thompson, who took his 21 years of military experience fighting the global war on terror and applied his learnings to his true love, whitetail hunting. My favorite feature on the Spartan Forge app is the LiDAR for finding draws and funnels. It also has an AI deer movement prediction tool, so you know when and where to go. It has historical wind plots for selecting stand locations, and Cyber Scout for just about anything else I need to know. Spartan Forge, a veteran-owned and operated American mapping and scouting company. Use promo code OUTSIDER20 to save 20% on a premium membership to Spartan Forge. That's OUTSIDER20, OUTSIDER20.
So you're 17, 18, just what was your plan?
I didn't have any
Didn't have
plans.
plan.
Didn't have plans.
Just get better as a fighter.
Yeah. Eventually, when the solidarity came in, well, I already started learning about the depravity of socialist system. Too. When I was in 5th grade, the secret police came to my school and threatened me and my mom that if they don't instill more love for socialism in me, would be taken to orphanage, me and my siblings.
Yeah.
Because I in 5th grade in Poland at the time, you had to start learning Russian language.
Okay.
So I was never a good student. So that pissed me off, and I was like, pipe up to the students, to the teacher, why we have to learn the Russian language? We don't even speak Polish very well. And on the top of it, the Russians are occupiers here. Well, I just piped up because I was angry that I have extra homework to do.
Yeah.
But there was a turn to political very quickly. The teacher came in, grabbed me by my ear. That was one of the methods, teaching methods in Poland at the time. They walked me to the principal office. They put me in the corner. And then the principal called police and say, hey, this is what we have, this is the problem. So police on the way, they detained my mom
The police
in
for,
her
for
school.
a 5th grader.
Yeah, they went to talk to someone, not so much to me, but to my mom. But they want to make example, I guess. So they stopped by my school where my mom was teaching. They detained her, they brought her to my school. And then they started yelling at us.
That's wild.
So, yeah, but there was nothing unusual.
Sure.
You know? That's something that at the time, the political party, the Communist Party, were so powerful, and they could do anything to you what they wanted to do. They murdered people too. Not even today, people are still seeking mass graves of the communist regime in Poland after Second World War, because they especially people who came from the West, who were fighting on the Allied side. Battle of Britain, fighting France, they were arrested. Many of them were arrested and executed for like drummed up charges. So.
Were you guys ever privy to any of that? Did you know any of that was going on when you were a child, or were you exposed to, like
not at the time,
an execution or anything like that?
Not at the time.
Yeah.
It was whispered from here to there, but people were really afraid to talk about it openly. So even my mom, I remember after that incident at school when secret police came and threatened her, said, "Do not speak politics. Do not talk politics." So that's how we end up just not being outspoken at the time, but I started learning already about Radio Free Europe, Voice of America, and these radio stations were actually beaming into Poland the truth, beaming into Poland what really happened, what is a really real Polish history. Because please remember, after Second World War, communists, they removed the statues that were inconvenient to socialism, or they thought they were maybe against communism or didn't reflect well on socialism and communism. They were either removed or destroyed. Books were burned or removed from libraries, and all the art was removed from museums too that did not support the socialist narratives. And this is how they control society. But to do that, first you need to attack faith. This is why the priority of every socialist or every totalitarian system will be attack on your faith. And that's what happened in Poland.
So, obviously, or I'm not gonna say obviously, I assume you didn't listen to your mom and leave the political party alone and not say anything because you found yourself as a political prisoner. What led you there? How that ended up happening?
Well, besides that, my experience with the secret police in the 5th grade of elementary school, I also had uncle who was harassed by the police. He had his own business, and he was making bricks and cinder blocks. He was really good at it, and his business was just booming. So party officials or friends of the party officials who had similar businesses, they were coming to the party members and say, hey, this guy is actually not helping us. He's doing his business. Everybody's buying from him. Nobody's buying from us. So what they did, they just sent those, they call them anti-fascist groups or anti-Nazis groups. So my uncle was branded Nazi and fascist very quick. These groups, there's like students, workers, younger workers who try to kind of like get into parties on the party side, maybe get good future in the party line, along the party line, communist party lines. They were very willing to do anything they were asked for. And they were also manipulated by secret police at the time. So they came to my uncle's place, they destroyed his equipment and beat him up.
Sure.
So they first they asked him to scale down the production. He said, I can't. So they destroyed his equipment, and they did it 3 times. And eventually he ran out of resources. He could not rebuild this thing. But also when he went to police to complain about this, the police beat him up. So he came back black and blue. So I already knew that something is wrong. Besides, by being 16, 17 years old, you already heard that this person would disappear. There is a suspicion that he was murdered by secret police. So I was already kind of very standoffish to what was going on in Poland. In 1978, John Paul II came to Poland, and he rallied the people. What is important to know, that at that time in Poland, people were convinced that most of the nation supports Communist Party. Every time the fake news media show up, how great support it is, that support was either paid for or organized. They were forced to do it or were paid for to do and protest something or just show up on the street for some kind of cause that Communist Party deemed necessary. They wanted to do it. And John Paul, people didn't know. People, when they were watching news, they were available to them. They think like everybody is like, there's thousands, millions of people supporting that socialist system. So when John Paul II show up, when you were watching TV, the fake news media, you could see maybe 10, 15 people up there around him, even more people protesting the Pope. And the narrative was that just few people show up to greet some freaky guy in the white dress and funny hat. So that's how they was explained to us.
Yeah.
And people thought, wow, yeah, those people are weird. They just go to meet this guy who is supposed to be such a great Pope, and but there's only few people. So maybe the Communist Party is right. Everybody supports socialism. Until when the Pope showed up. You could see, in reality, and you can see today on YouTube media, on YouTube or on some archive medias where there was archive, there were thousands, if not millions, people. There were entire city blocks taken over by people who wanted to see, who wanted to hear his message. Yeah, and that's what it started to. That people realize there's not few of us, it's most of us. And they start connecting, they start building some resistance to communist system.
Realize they had a little power.
Yeah. And the words that Pope say to Poles, don't be afraid, it resonates in people. And it's fun, it's the kind of fun story when Vice President in France, when he was speaking, and when he told, he was speaking to this European Union baboons sitting in this room, these globalists and other scumbags. So when he said, don't be afraid, he was not speaking to these baboons sitting in the room. He was speaking to the nations of European Union. Don't be afraid and to fight for your rights.
Sure.
Because we know what happened. We know what happened in Romania. We know the attempt to assassinate Slovakian president, right? Vico. Romania, Georgia. So European Union is pushing these globalists' resources to overthrow or to prevent people from voting. And this is very dangerous. Today, European Union reminds me more the Soviet Union of the old times than the European Union at its inception, what it's supposed to be. It's not. It's very dangerous totalitarian system growing up there. So
what act landed you in
prison.
and what
Yeah.
where was that at?
Yeah, that was in Poland in the city lots. But after Pope's visit, people start organizing. They start building structures. They say, okay, we need to make organization that is independent from Communist Party. In Poland, at the time, in Poland, it was created first in the entire Eastern Bloc organization that was totally independent of communist country. So the communists, of course, like my father, they seen as a threat. They were already thinking how to dismantle it. They had to approve it because entire Poland stood up and entire Poland went on strike. Nobody was working. They said, well, absolutely, we're not going to do anything until you approve our organization. So they had to, but at the same time, they started making lists of the opposition leaders who needs to be locked up or eliminated. And eventually it culminated in December 1980, 1981, where they decide we are about to lose, the communists decided that they are about to lose control. So they imposed martial law. And I remember at midnight, December 13, all the telephone lines were cut in Poland. The radio stations and TV stations went blank. And mass arrests started across entire Poland according to the earlier prepared lists. So there are different estimates, but thousands of people were arrested at the same time. So at midnight, the military leader, the general, came on TV and announced martial law. But the thing is, communists would never admit that they hold political prisoners. They will call them criminals, bandits, anything else. But here, when they were arresting people for pure political reasons, they just could not call everybody. They do call many of them bandits and terrorists, but they couldn't call everybody because they were professors, they were intellectuals, they were engineers. So they call them internees. They came up with the term that these people are not being arrested. They are being just detained. They were never not detained. They are being placed in the safe place so they can be safe. Because otherwise they were dangerous to themselves and dangerous to the nation. So the explanation was that these people are not political prisoners. They are just sitting there isolated from society so they can be safe. There was always, they never did something for their power. There was always for the nation or for even those people they were arresting.
How old were you?
I was 21 at the time.
21. How long were you detained, I guess?
So I received a 3 years prison sentence.
3 years?
Yes, but I was released earlier after the John Paul II decided to come and visit Poland again. But his conditions were that the communist government needs to announce amnesty for political prisoners.
Okay.
So they started releasing us earlier. This is how I got out of prison. But it doesn't mean that your ordeal was over.
Sure.
Because now the secret police take over and they start harassing people. And
so you get out of prison and then what?
And then I was trying to get a job. I was thinking, like, what do I do now? It's like I had that stigma of being criminal, being almost on the same level like terrorist.
Yeah.
And I was they put me to prison, by the way, for printing a newspaper. It was outside of the censorship. Okay. The government had no influence what we are printing. So we got, there was times that actually you could go to prison for having unregistered typewriter. Typewriter was more dangerous to socialists.
Was your dad still in charge of censorship then?
Yes, he was still in charge of
censorship.
Basically
put you in prison.
Yeah, basically,
That's
yes.
wild.
So, he didn't care.
Yeah.
So we're not in the picture anywhere near.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Was prison pretty brutal?
Well, not for me at the time. So there's an interesting story here. Because I didn't know but at the time, but when I went to court in Warsaw last year, because the interesting story is, I was called to testify against the judge who sentenced me to prison time.
Really?
Not only me, but the guy who was sentencing people to prison. He was basically the activist judge working for the party.
Yeah.
And not only them. So today, Poland is a free country, and they don't tolerate that stuff. So all these people who committed these crimes of judicial terror, communist crimes, crimes against Polish nation are prosecuted. There is no expiration date for these crimes.
Yep.
So he was being prosecuted, and I went to testify in his case. But this is what I learned. Actually, I was tortured. Like for me, the beatings that I got from the police in prison, I thought they're just normal. You know, I didn't see it any. I didn't see any thing unusual in it.
Sure.
That was like kind of expected.
Yeah.
But now, you know, I was put in the tiger cage. So there was like a cage inside the prison cell. So you are sitting in the middle of it, and then there was like a walk around, so the guards could walk around your cage. So that's a torture. At that time, I didn't know. I thought it was just a normal thing. So yeah, that was a very interesting story. That this guy is being, and those activist judges are being prosecuted.
Good.
Who would think 40 years later that the times will change? And
What
those
year did you
activists-
go back to do this? Did you went back to Warsaw to testify against him? the
Yes,
judge?
it was last year.
Last year.
Oh, last year? No
Last
shit.
year, yes.
Really?
Yes.
Amazing.
So yeah, I asked the judge though not to put this guy in prison because most likely
He's still alive?
I think yes, he's still alive.
Okay.
Yeah, he's one of the last. There was like a trio judges.
Okay.
There was not a regular court. The
Yeah.
courts were suspended. There
Sure.
was military troika, we call them. So it was like three military officers. They had the power. They could sentence you to death. There was no jury. There was no nothing.
Wow.
And so he's the last alive from those people who prosecuted me.
Sure.
But there's quite few of those still alive, and they are still being prosecuted or they were already sentenced.
Gotcha.
So in my case, I just asked not to put him in prison. This old guy right now, and there is really no. The punishment wouldn't work. There wouldn't be punishment. There would be just revenge on the guy. So I asked for just leave this guy alone, or at least what he did, his deeds should be exposed.
Yeah.
But him as a
the-
person,
just the
you
acknowledgement
don't
of
accomplish
it.
anything putting 80 years old grandpa in the prison. So yeah, but just make an example of that you should not be activist judge working for a political party, because you never know how it will end up. One day, maybe never 40 years later, you might end up on the receiving end, and you might end up in prison, and that's what almost happened. Yeah.
So you're out of jail. How'd you get to America then?
Well, at that time it was kind of difficult too, because I had to have a job. I couldn't get a job.
Yeah.
I had that stigma of being a criminal at the time and being the political prisoner. That was even worse. You would rather be a criminal at the time in Poland, being sentenced for criminal things than for political things.
Yeah.
So
You'd rather have killed somebody than be a
Oh yeah,
political.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, and so I couldn't find a job. I resumed my kickboxing. I resumed my training, and very often now coming out from training, we didn't have cars. I didn't have a car, so we had to take a buses. So we just walk on the street for maybe a mile, whatever. We just go to this bus stop. I go to that bus stop. We just go home. So on the way back, it happened that police that show up in civilian cars, civilian police, the Secret Service with maybe one in uniform. They handcuffed me, throw me in the car, and drove me away. So my friends now was like, "What's going on? Maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we can get arrested too with this guy one day." So they were terrorizing, not me, because they couldn't terrorize me at the time. I already knew what their game is, but they would terrorize people around me into compliance.
Yeah.
So they just drove me around the city, drove me outside the city, in the woods, in the field somewhere, and then just drop me off somewhere, maybe 2-3 miles, sometimes 20 miles outside the town.
Just harassing you.
Yeah. And like daytime, I could take a walk to the bus, take a bus, go home. But at nighttime, the communication didn't work very well. So, and we didn't have a cell phone. It's not like I could call my mom and say, hey,
pick me up.
I'm coming home, or get me a taxi or something. So I had to walk home, and she was afraid too, because she knew what communist system, what the communists, what the oppressive regime, totalitarian regime would do to political opponents.
Yeah.
So yes, and that was pretty scary. And eventually I decided it's time to leave Poland. And at the time, for America was always for me this beacon of freedom, this place where you can, on the shiny hill, that you can look it up and say, I want to live like these people up there. I want to be part of this. I wanted Poland to be like America at the time, and so I went to U.S. Embassy. I asked for help. I said, look, this is my story.
You went to the
U.S. Embassy in Warsaw, and I asked for help.
Yeah,
and for that time, to get you didn't have a passport in Poland. Nobody had a passport unless you were a party member, and even then, after you came back from the visit, you had to turn this passport to police.
Yeah.
So when I couldn't get a passport until I get documents from the United States that I'm allowed to come and live in America. So I said, that's impossible. I mean, why would they just a guy like me and take a guy like me? But I said, well, I have no choice. I need to try it. I went up there, and they were like super nice. They listened to me. So, okay, let me see, bring these and these documents here. And I tell you, within a month or two, I had actually that promissory note telling the Polish government that I'm allowed to immigrate to the United States.
Really?
So they had no choice. And there's a lot of people did that way. Not only that didn't have a choice, the communists, they did, but they wanted to rid of us too.
Yeah, I was going to say, they probably were happy to
they were very happy.
Go,
yeah.
Get out of
the
here.
passport that I got from them has a still stamp. I'm going to post it online on my site. Can cross Polish border one time only.
Yeah.
So basically they're out.
Get out of here.
But not in. So for me it was pretty. It was not so hard because I was really afraid for my life. But for my mom and for my siblings, it was hard because we understood that most likely I will never be able to come to return to Poland, and they will never able to leave Poland because people like the communists and socialists, they attack not only the opponents, they attack their families, they attack the circles around here. So being even friend to somebody who had ties to opposition could put you in prison at the time. So we knew that those just saying goodbye forever.
So how did you know? Did you know anybody in America? Did you know where you were going? Like,
no, I didn't even speak English at the time. I had only a bag of clothes, and I had.
So did you save up money for a flight, or
no? America flight.
Okay.
Do you know where he came to?
No.
Memphis.
Memphis, Tennessee. No, that was great. It's like, so I got my. I had to get $20, right? So that was like a requirement.
So America flew you over here.
Yes.
To Memphis.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but before leaving, we went to Germany for like 3 weeks until my trip was organized. Somebody on the United States in United States was there to receive me. So I just don't land on the street and say, "Here I am."
Yeah.
And
what year is this?
It was 1984.
Okay.
And when in Germany, but I always was dreaming since I was a kid to have my own tape recorder. Oh my God, I just want to have like a small one I can carry with me and listen to the music, just walking. So I went in Germany. I spent the entire $20 like a nice small tape recorder. I said, now I can listen to music. The only thing I didn't have any music. So I just, the idea was I would just record my own music, from the radio or something. And so when I landed in New York, I had only 10 or 5 Phoenix in my pocket. So it's like not even 10 cents.
Yeah.
So that's all I had. That's how I started. my life. This is how I started my American dream. And so I came to from New York. I was flown to Memphis. There were family. There was a family who actually I spent some time with until they found a job for me and apartment. And I remember,
were they European or were they American? The family in Memphis.
No, they were Americans.
American,
Yeah. I couldn't communicate with them.
Yeah.
So the first thing they gave me was like nice dictionary.
Uh-huh.
I still have this dictionary today. I'm also going to post it online because there's a story attached to it. And once every while, you know, they until they found the apartment for me, they took me around the Memphis. They drove me around the Memphis.
Yep.
And I remember too, in Poland, I walk everywhere. I never had a car.
Yeah.
I didn't even have a friend who had a car.
Yeah.
So everywhere I walk or ride the bus. So like I asked, where is the downtown in Memphis? So they they drove me around and see downtown. You see those two buildings in the background? That's downtown. I said, okay, nice. So can I go up there and visit sometimes and see it? Yeah, sure, you can. In Poland, at the time, every store, like we have a malls here, right? You have all this store in nice, clean places. In Poland at the time, they were like in downtown. So you go to downtown, you can see some stores maybe. There was nothing in it. But so I said, I'm going to see what America has in their stores, you know, at the time. So I was like not speaking English. I had the flip-flops. I said, I go in the flip-flops. Well, and I start marching. And as I walk on the street, I said, like, damn, there's no sidewalks or anything here. I was like dashing the cars, going on the grass, and keep walking. And like, seems like, wow, that's farther than I think it is. So eventually, I made the time, but not without cars coming by and stopping. Hey, do you need some help?
Yeah.
Are you okay? Is everything okay? I said, yeah, I was okay. I remember I jumped through there was a interstate. I had to just like run across the interstate to go to. I didn't know it, but in America you don't walk that far. You know, you especially like. So eventually, I made by the afternoon to downtown. There was nothing there. There were just offices.
Yeah.
Most of them closed. So I said, well, I think maybe that's just like in Poland, but nicer building, nicer people, but there is nothing in the stores. There's no stores. I didn't know it. So then I walked back. So even these people later they told me they were afraid for me because I came back late. And, but I had my feet were chafed from the flip-flops. I think I made like 8 miles one way and 8 miles another way. So I was like I was wasted. I didn't like the downtown. So finally I tried to explain to them, like drawing a little bit to these older people, those parishioners in the church, that I want to see stores and stuff. So they took me to the mall. Oh my God, that was like my first impression was that what I will always remember is go to grocery store and go to the mall. In the mall, that was like almost watching the science fiction movie.
Yeah,
it was Jesus. That's so nice. Everything so beautiful, so clean, and abundance of everything. And when we went to the grocery store, when I got my apartment eventually, that was like, good God, I mean, I can have everything.
Yeah.
There's nobody I don't have to fight people to grab the box or grab a piece of sausage. That's just like everything is there. I remember I loaded my basket with the boxes of cereal. I didn't know what the cereal was at the time, but the boxes look so good, so nice. I said, it's got to be a very tasty thing, whatever it is. So I went, I ate that cereal for a month. But yeah, that was cool. So yeah, that was my first days in Memphis. And, I had a lot of, I didn't speak English, so I had to learn English at the time. They got me first job. My first job was as janitor in the church. My first apartment, I didn't know at the time, it was in the project where the apartment cost only $180. The police was there every day. First time I thought maybe the martial law started in America because first night I was there by myself. I see the blue lights coming in, the sirens, people running around, say, oh shit, it's the martial law again. But no, there was just the neighborhood like this. But I remember I was so impressed because the apartment had air conditioning. I never seen one. And I didn't know that you can have actually cold air blow. I thought it was like, that was impossible. I remember watching movies from America in Poland when I was a kid. I see these boxes in the windows. So I was like, these Americans are so smart. Like we keep the milk on the ledge of the window. We keep there's things that need to be called, or sausage or something, on the ledge of the window. It's like narrow. And the Americans are so smart. They have a whole box. They can just put the box outside the window. And they can keep so many things cool in the cold environment. Well, I didn't know there were air conditionings. I thought they were just boxes to keep food in them. so it tells you. So I learned a lot. And that was like drinking from the fire hose, learning about America. It was everything, including the language. I had so many, I still have accidents. So at that time, when I was learning English, TH word doesn't exist in Polish, right? It's just... they don't thank you. That sound does not exist. So the guy from Poland who was here earlier, he said, just use F. Thank you. Thank you very much. Don't even hear the difference. Well, maybe, but I was trying to be so precise and pronounce that F so strong that in the church meeting later when the pastor brought a bunch of cookies so the parishioners could meet the immigrant from Poland, I took the cookie from his plate and just very say, fuck you. That's how it came out. And I can hear gasps. And I already knew I say something wrong. I didn't know what, though. Yeah. So they like older gentleman step out from the crowd. It's like what he's trying to say is, thank you. He looks at me and say, thank you. So like, thank you. So I was trying, I was trying to do my best. I was invited, I was telling to earlier about it, I was invited to church swimming pool party, the family pool party. Bunch of kids, in the pool, barbecue, the grill going on. And so I said like, well, I want to present myself the best I can. So I went, I found the tightest, the skimpiest shorts I could find. They would call it banana hammock today. And because in Poland at the time, if you wear shorts like we wear today, like I wear today, you either had to be fat or you had to be very old person who cannot just put the clothes on you together. So if you show up on the beach in Baltic with shorts like this, I don't think you would be shocked.
Yeah.
People would be shocked by seeing you in something like this. Yeah. So I try to present myself the goods. I show up in this banana hammocks. The first thing I'm showing up at the pool and I hear the whistles. The kids are being ushered from the pool, me behind the building. They put me aside, say, okay, come here. You need to wear this. Like those big shorts. I was kind of disappointed, but I say, well, I guess this is the way it is. So I didn't argue. I just put them on. Yeah. And so, that's how I started. I remember the dictionary I mentioned earlier about we were driving in the car. And I was trying to impress this older couple. That was like maybe 70 years old people. I was staying in their house until my apartment was ready for me. And so I used the dictionary. I wanted to impress them. I'm using it. So this is house. So they're like, yes, okay. So I look and say, this is tree. And it's like, yes. I'm sitting on the back seat up there. And this is this. And then I see the black guy walking on the street. Oh, and so I'm looking and say, and this is they almost wrecked the car. I mean, that was like, oh my God, no. Like, I didn't understand what she was saying, but I know she was very upset. He was very upset. There's like, no. So I was showing her the dictionary that she gave me. She looked at it, it's like, oh my God, okay. She crossed it. Yeah. And she wrote black man. I didn't want to offend anybody. I was just trying to impress people that I'm using the dictionary, that I'm trying to learn English.
You're trying.
And so then I was like, every black guy I've seen, there was a lot in Memphis, starts to reinforce this. This is black man. This is black man. This is black man. No, this is a woman, she said. Woman. This is black woman. So, I kind of like learned these things as I went. I never went to school to learn English. I learned English by myself. I had the map in one hand and the cartoons in the other hand, and just trying to, I'm moving the map. And Jane loves John. Okay, Jane loves John means Jane loves John. So I was just memorizing a lot of that stuff. TV, I couldn't understand what they were saying. And so I was just staring at the TV at night and just trying to understand even single word.
Yeah, trying to piece it
and
together.
I say, Jane, I hear Jane. Okay, this is good. So slowly, this is how I picked it up.
That's amazing.
And eventually, like 6 months later, I could actually communicate.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And but with English, I have a problem still today. You know, so my wife, she gave me. I have an entire list the words that I cannot use.
Yeah.
Like purse. Like, can you put my phone in your purse for me? That's just like, she's like, don't ever say that loud. Don't say it on people.
That's a no-go, Rachel?
Yeah. And then when we got married, so I said, like, can you fix me a nice dessert? Yeah, what do you want? I would like to eat Kimberly. She's like, look at me, say, who is Kimberly? She's like, what do you mean? The dessert we had like a couple of days ago in the restaurant. Oh, you mean creme brulee? Say creme brulee. Yeah.
Give me some of that Kimberly, please.
Yeah. So, I'm still having a hard time. Maybe because when I learned English, I was already 24. There are some people more skilled in languages. I'm maybe the one the least skilled in languages. I can speak Polish, Russian, and Japanese, but English is very difficult for me, especially the pronunciation.
Yeah.
So that so the thank you, the Kimberly stuff happens, and Purs stuff happens to me from time to time.
How'd you end up in the SEAL teams?
Well,
How'd you end up in the military?
Well, I became U.S. citizen.
Okay.
By this time, my English was much better. I could communicate very easily. I was a mechanic.
How long did it take to become a citizen?
What's that?
How long did it
6
take?
years.
6 years, okay.
Yes. Oh, I was nervous. I remember.
Yeah, you take a test and everything?
You have to take a test. I was preparing myself, reading about the history of the United States, and trying to memorize a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was really stressed out about it. And when I went up there, the judge actually started asking me the questions.
Sure.
I had to write a little too. And I remember when I was still afraid. I was like, during the entire test, am I good enough?
Yeah.
Am I good enough? And finally say, yeah, okay, you passed. So there was ceremony in Memphis at the time, and where we were sworn in. I was sworn in as an American citizen, and talking about SEAL teams, for me, this is the biggest accomplishment of my life,
bet.
Yeah.
becoming American citizen. I will never forget that. And the ceremony after the
Were
ceremony.
you like 30-ish? 30?
Yeah. I was 31,
Yeah.
32 going, almost 32. So TV came in, and they like interviewed these new citizens. They came to me too, and they say, okay, so what does it mean to you? I didn't understand it very well what she was saying. I mean, I did, but for me to talk about abstract things like, feelings and stuff was very difficult. So I remember I started talking something. She's like, listen to me. I say, like, yes, thank you very much, for the conversation. And then she turns around and says something like, these people are very excited here. They are becoming American citizens. Some may not speak very well, but they make up with the excitement here. She just pointed at me. So I don't think she understands a word of what I say. The funny thing is I have a tape, because I asked the TV station if I could have the tape from that interview, and they sent it to me. So I'm going to post it online too as well.
There you go.
So I became U.S. citizen, but at the same time, the war broke out, the first Persian War. So I was like, look, I'm American now. My America is fighting a war. How can I help? So my life was already great. I mean, I was already established mechanic. I was skydiving. Actually, I was teaching skydiving at the time. So I say, I'm going to go and join military. I go to war for the duration of the war. When I come back, I will resume my awesome American dream. And so I went to post office. I filled the what do you call it? This not selective enlistment. There was a draft card.
Yep.
that you had to fill up. I filled it up. I sent it off. I went back to apartment where I was living with other skydivers at the time. I started packing myself. So she said, where are you going? I said, well, I'm going to war. What do you mean you're going to war? I say, well, I just signed up the papers, the contract, whatever it was, and they come and get me. So I'm going to go ahead and fight war for America. So you want to go to war? I say, yes. You're going to get killed. I say, maybe not, I hope not. But so, America is fighting war. I'll be fighting war on behalf of America and American people.
Yeah.
And they wrote me a letter that I'm too old for I don't need to worry about the registration. And I was advised also to go to the recruiting center I didn't know much about distinction between Navy, military, Navy, Army, Air Force.
Did you
For me, everything was Army.
Did you apply to the Army first? Or
Yes,
what?
I did apply. So I went to see Army. Army for me was everything.
Sure.
So I went to Army and applied for that, and they did all the paperwork. I was pretty much ready to go, and then the Navy SEALs came to Memphis. They did demonstrational jumps in Memphis downtown, I guess. So when they came to our drop zone to skydive just for fun, these guys love to sky. We love to skydive, right? So they skydive with us, and there was the guy. His name was Tim O'Hara. Today, I think he's still a firefighter in San Diego or somewhere in California. This guy, actually, I owe my career to this guy. He convinced me to switch from the Army to the Navy, and so I did. My intention. I wanted to be a SEAL later on, but it was not my driving force. I just wanted to serve America. I was free man. I was living as a free man.
You wanted to do your patriotic duty.
I wanted just to repay my freedom. So if America is at war, I will be fighting war on behalf of America and American people. After that, I can just come back and resume my living American dream. Well, I never did, but. Yes, eventually I made into the SEAL training. I was given a waiver because I was way too old.
How old were you when you went through BUD/S?
32, 33.
And what class? What's class?
185.
185, all right. So this month is 366, so it's my centennial class. And so you're nothing but, I don't know, a year or so.
We're like double centennial class.
Yeah. You got to go.
Yeah, as I look in the mirror, sometimes I look at the pictures when I was going through SEAL training. I was already old, but then for me, I was like, damn, I was a baby.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the...
What's the age limit?
28.
Yeah.
So I was like way beyond. But because I think I did so well, because I wanted to do well, I wanted America to be proud of me.
Yeah.
So I went up there. I graduated from boot camp as a number 1 recruit.
Yeah.
I'm still very proud of it.
Yeah.
I had to learn so much about the United States, about America. This was also when I learned that in America, we all have the same color, red, white, and blue. You don't look at somebody, your skin is a little bit lighter or darker, so what I call you, you are American, and I don't care what color you are. You can be a pink, and you are still, I will fight for you and for your rights. So that's first thing we learn. That's everybody has one color in America. It's red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
And then I remember learning about the American history, about history of the United States Navy, the United States military. It was fascinating to me. I wanted to learn it. I was just like sponge. And so I was doing so well. And then I went to A school to become parachute rigger, because at that time you could not go to SEAL teams right away. You have to have a job most of the time. So I went to parachute school, to parachute rigger school. I graduated in the top of the class, or one of the top. And so I think when I asked for a waiver, they said, well, maybe this guy actually, maybe it's worth to give him the waiver. I guess I got it because I was doing so well in the Navy, and they gave me a waiver. And then this is how I entered the selection program. The famous or infamous, however I look at it, but... So yeah, that's something.
So how was it showing up to the SEAL team your first time? Because I know I remember seeing you in second phase, and you were Drago, and that was like just your name had almost a tangible aura around it. And if see you coming or go back to 618 and see you walk in the hallways, I'd turn and go the other way, as quick as I possibly could, because you were about to, ruin somebody's day, and I was hoping it just wasn't going to be mine, right? And so you had a reputation bigger than yourself, right? And in the SEAL teams, but and of course, I think that started in kindergarten when you learned to fight. I think that's really when Drago was born. The Drago that I picture in my head anyway, from the SEAL teams.
That's why the name came from Drago for. And no, it's funny actually with this nickname, because eventually, like I remember, you had to renew your secret clearance once every while, and the SEAL Team 4, the NCIS showed up on the quarterdeck, say, and we are looking for Drago Dzieran here. We want to speak to him. It's like, we don't have a guy like that. Maybe try a different SEAL team. That's like what they call him, Drago sometimes. Oh, that guy. Okay, yeah. So they paged me at the quarterdeck, and I had to go to the interview and all the other stuff with it. But the funny thing is that in BATS, I never talk about my stories. I never talk about Iraq. People knew that I was in Iraq. I was there for actually extended stay. And I don't know who, but the story spread. Some of the stories that I heard is like, I told maybe like very few guys. And here the students are making fun of it too. Like
we heard all sorts of stories. Like, he was over there and he did X, Y, and Z, and then he was about to come home and was dealing with some stuff on the home front or whatever. So he just decided to stay over there. He's been in Iraq for the last
me there.
year and a half, just slaying dudes on the reg. He's gone rogue. He's off with the Grom, and they're banging targets every night. Like you had a reputation bigger than
Oh well, yeah. It's like I think everywhere. I was not aware of it in BATS. I kind of like see like people like look at me kind of weird, and the students run away.
Oh yeah.
But I think I was
students run away.
But I was very fair.
You were extremely fair, and I realized that I don't know after pool comp or during pool comp because you're yelling at somebody that failed, and you said something like, "All I care about is the proper sequence of events during pool comp for ditch and dawn or what have you." And then the next guy went in. And I heard, you can't watch, so your back's face. Obviously, his voice is very recognizable. You can hear so and so pass, and so I'm like, okay, this guy seems to be fair. And then throughout second phase, I saw your fairness, and then I saw it even more so. You were a guest instructor out at La Posta, or where do we do Nyland?
Yeah.
And when we were in SQT, and this is towards the end, when you're about to get your tridents, and you were just all about tactics. Everything was fair. It was almost a different person, of course, but we were closer to graduation. Besides, one kid. I don't know if you remember this or not. He wouldn't jump out of a plane, and then somehow he ended up in our class.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And then
he wouldn't jump out. How did he get that far?
I don't remember the story, but all I know is he was
they rolled him back from the jump school.
He was in class a couple ahead of me, or something like that, and he wouldn't jump out of the plane. And so they called a nonverbal DOR. So it was like, you quit. Something happened with this guy. He made it back into SQT and rolled into our class. We're in Nyland. Drago's talking to us, and as he's talking to us, he didn't say it this way, but he didn't allow the kid that quit in amongst us. So he had to go stand off somewhere else because, if I remember correct, he said, "I only want to talk to men."
But that kid actually did well eventually. He did very well.
I can't remember who it was the same life.
I can look at it now from the perspective of time and say that was my mistake. Maybe that I was harsh on this guy. But at the time, I just came back straight from the battlefield. I came from Iraq to BATS, so I knew the people I want to see next to me, shoulder to shoulder. And I really at the time I was very reluctant to see people who back down to doing very safe evolution. Jumping out of the airplane is safe, so it's one of the safer things you will do in SEAL teams, as you know it. So that's
way safer than VBSS.
Way. There's many things that do. In the teams, when you are in platoon, you do almost every day something that can kill you.
Yeah, there's no room for error in that.
It's not that sit behind the desk. There are such maybe positions there, but when you're in the platoon, your thing is like learn how to kill enemy the most efficient way and the best way. So that's I was kind of worried about this kid at the time, but again, he did very well later, and I would not have a problem to go to combat with this kid.
And it's all context, right? You're looking at it from a certain lens. He's looking at it from a certain lens, and
all I knew is the guy said this guy backed out of the airplane. He was on the jump run and he refused to jump. He has to be pulled out on the back of the airplane. So for me, it was like, to back out of the jump, you had to be screaming and kicking there because these army guys, they didn't fuck around. It's just like you in the door, you going out, So not to let himself being jump. That was for me at that time was disturbing. I say that's not. But again, I was wrong, and the guy did very well, and I shouldn't be maybe that harsh on him, and I wish I wasn't.
Oh, I think it's all right because that set the tone for our class, right? And when I say set the tone, what I mean is it made us realize how cutthroat the SEAL teams actually is because you get told. I remember we were doing rocking chairs in the Bay during Hell Week, and one of the instructors said, there's going to be, I forget what number, like 5 of you or no, this is what he said. Look around because someone to your left, someone to your right, someone's going to die on their first deployment. Like it's just the numbers, and I'll be damned, it ended up happening. So I also think it was important that lens that you brought, and we just looked at it from an instructor's point of view, not hey, this is who you are point of view, right? Because you can see that, and it did shape us to realize, hey, this is a cutthroat organization, and you have to step up no matter what.
Yes.
Right. So I think it was good from that aspect for sure.
Tug of wolf, if you run with the wolf, you're okay. But if you get injured, if you get wounded, you are the wounded wolf. That wolf will eat you alive. That will eat you. So you keep up, or you need to get out. Yes, I understand, but it has to be this way. The job that we do is there is no time for second guessing things. Sometimes you just have to make a decision on the spot.
Absolutely.
Can't have a wink link.
Out of all your deployments, which one was your favorite?
All of them were favorites. I like them all. Maybe the first one, my ass was being kicked because I was the FNG, the fucking new guy. So I had, still at the time, I was still getting more proficient with my English. So that was very, very harsh. But the best one, I think, was going to Iraq. And I think the first trip to Iraq, because they I was supposed to go there for 3 months. I was already, I think 3 months into deployment in South America. When the call came in, hey, you need to go to Baghdad. There are Polish special forces working. We need somebody to help coordinate the mission with them and see what they are. So I say, sure. I packed my stuff. I left, and I was told, our cycle is 6 months, right? It's deployed for 6 months, then year and a half, sometimes 2 years is workup. So I say, okay. So you go. I was told I will go for 3 months, and after the 3 months, I will come back because they will complete my 6 month cycle, and I'll just join another platoon, start another workup. So I say, okay. 3 months passed. I was like, I don't hear anything from my command, from Team 4, SEAL Team 4. So I was like, I don't say anything either. I have a good time here. I love what I do, as I'm applying my SEAL skills.
This is a common technique to stay on deployment.
Oh, yeah.
and then I communicate to guys on the quarter. Rob O'Neill was at the time in Team 4. So I call him sometime and say, hey, tell command I'm doing fine, I'm here. But after 3 months, when I didn't hear anything back, I was like, dude, just don't say them anything. I'm fine if they ask, but if they don't bring me up. And so there's like this 3 months starting to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got like a year deployment. And then so when eventually my night vision broke out, and then when I called, they said, where are you at? I said, I'm in Baghdad. I was Master Chief. It's like, how long have you been there? I was like, a year, almost on deployment total. It's like, dude, you need to come back. because the other, I don't want to bring up the team numbers here because we don't want to, want to spill these beans, who is going where or what. But so there's another SEAL team going out. So you need to come back because we are going after this SEAL team. We are next. So I couldn't hide anymore. So I came back, but it was my best deployment because we were snatching savages almost every night, going after bad guys, going out of the wire,
terrorizing the terrorists.
Terrorizing the terrorists. This is what another thing. I believe that most effective way to fight terrorism is to terrorize the terrorists. And I'm good terrorizer, definitely yes, and it worked every single time. So they got me back, but then the team going out, I was trying to get back in the war. You know, I didn't see myself. I couldn't find myself back at home. Well, I didn't have any because my wife, or the ex-wife at that time, she already left. So I was like, what do I do here? I want to go back. So I asked them, can I go with you guys at least? You know, I can help you guys start with the Grom, because they would work with Grom. And they said, yeah, absolutely, go help us set up. So the 2 weeks starting to 2 months. I don't hear from my commander anything, so I don't say nothing either. Like 4 months later, the call comes in, dude, you need to come back because we are next. So I came back and went back again next. So, but the first deployment was when that's where I developed my Drago's Accelerated English Course for
That's
Terrorists.
it. I was trying to think of what the hell it was called.
Yeah. You give me like 10 minutes with the terrorists.
I read this in the book, but I remember you telling us about it as well. So
yeah. It's like, you know, if most of the time when we snatch these guys or we get to them, it's like, no English. Okay, well, so this is where I developed my Drago's Accelerated English Course for Terrorists. So just give me 10 minutes with the terrorists and they will speak with better accent than I. I remember I had a case with a friend of mine, with another team guy, Tage. So there was a CIA girl, and she was trying to get some notes from the guy. And it's like, no English. So it was like, man, we can make him speak English very quick. We just like, you need some help? She's like, okay. So can you leave for like 10 minutes? Okay. So she came back 10 minutes later. The guy was so talkative, she ran out of paper. She was like, wait a minute. I need to go back for the paper. So she ran out. So the guys not only learned English, he actually spoke really good. Because I remember me and Tage were later like musings, like, dude, Tage looking at me say, dude, that guy speaks with better accent than you do. so yeah. And I remember another case too. I remember we breached the door. We were looking for some Fedayeen, those Saddam Hussein Fedayeen, and he was not home, but there was some other guy was there, and the girl that was with us, she was trying to ask, so where is your father? We're looking for him. No English. I say, ma'am, you want some help? She just looked at me for a second. Okay, but I cannot see it. Let me go step outside. I say, okay. And like 10 minutes later, ma'am, I think he wants to speak to you. So he comes back and say, okay, so my dad is in Syria. He's coming back here with like really good English. So yeah, it worked, you know. So so yeah, I have my own patented stuff. It's basically being super nice to them, being very persuasive. I think I was very persuasive, and I was able to convince them to open up and learn English very quickly.
Must have been your charm and good looks. Huh?
Yeah. She looked at me and said, "This guy is so handsome. I'm going to go and learn English from him very quickly." And that worked. But yeah. I will patent it one day.
Mm-hmm. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, Drago. It's been nice to hang out with you and bullshit with you after all these years.
Yeah, a long time.
Where can people find the book?
The Pledge of America, the Pledge to America. Where can people find it? It's everywhere, right?
It used to be in Barnes and it is in Barnes and Nobles on Amazon, but they're sold it out.
Oh,
they are only they are online right now on my website, but this is a different book.
Okay.
This is extended version. This book is something that you could not buy and you cannot buy in Barnes and Nobles. It has the images. It has is extended version.
What's your website?
It's dragodzieran.com. So maybe you can just
we got that on there.
Yep.
And but again, I was not looking for adventure going into military. I was looking to repay my debt. My intention was to fight for the duration of the war and then come back to my life. Of course, I never did. I spent 20 years. I retired after 20 years as a Navy SEAL. And I would like to say to your viewers that thank you for my freedom, because I could never live free if America was not here. If not for the founding fathers and the ideals they fought for, and the ideals that are being carried forward today by American people, by Americans like you guys, I would never be free. So I would like to say thank you.
Well, thank you to you. We appreciate you being here more than you know, and thanks for your service.
Oh, thank you.